You can readily see that those tree branch blanks are plenty long enough. However, the one on the left is so crooked that I'm going to have a real problem drilling right down through it so that the brass tube isn't exposed, on the left side. I think it's possible if I'm very careful and very lucky. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try and sand them down a little bit to make them a little bit more round. And that way I'll be able to get them more accurately placed in the pen blank vise. Well, here we go with number 1. Now here's the one that I was really worried about. Now after you saw me do the sanding thing there, I did shorten it a bit, and I rounded it over just a little bit more on the sides. I think it's going to be okay. We'll soon know. Well, I think we made it. Oh, got a little crack there. Kind of chipped out. Well, we'll try it with a brass tube and see what it looks like. Well, I think this crack is probably going to be okay. I'll have the brass tube glued in as far this way as possible. And yeah, I think it's going to be okay. Okay, the brass tubes are all sanded and plugged. And may as well start with this difficult one first. You notice it's got that crack in it there. And that means that I'm going to want to have the brass tube as close to this end as possible after I'm through, before the glue sets. So, here we go. Now another thing I've done is I've wiped the brass tube off with isopropyl alcohol. The idea is to get the grease from my fingers off of it, and that way it will help to keep the CA glue from curing quickly. Anyway, I guess no use putting off the inevitable. I think this is going to work out okay. So, here we go. I should mention this is rather a snug fit here. So I don't want to fool around too long, because my experience has been that when it's a snug fit, it tends to cure fairly quickly. Okay, now as close as I can, reasonably, to this end here, and I think that's about it. Now the curing agent, and we'll wait a few seconds. Okay, that should do it. All I have to do now is clean out those brass tubes really, really good and get them on the mandrel, and we can start turning. This was the first time that I did not use the drill press to do the barrel trimmer thing. I put the barrel trimmer in the cordless drill, and I just ran it really slow and gentle, and the reason being, some of those brass tubes were just about at the end of the blank as it was. Didn't want to go too deep. Now my plan is to take these down to probably within a 1/16 of an inch of the final dimension. Then I'm going to check them over, and if I'm finding that there's a lot of soft spots or punky spots, well then what I'm going to do is reinforce it with CA glue and then take it down the rest of the way. At least that's the plan. Quite often I will speed up the turning here, about 10 times, maybe faster. The rest of this is going to be in real time. It's going to run for about 5 minutes, maybe even a little longer. Let me know, what do you think? Do you like it sped up and get it over with, or do you like to watch it in real time? Please let me know. Now I am going extra cautious here because, as you remember, there is a crack in one of those blanks, and it's not as strong as it could be. I'm assuming that the CA glue has adhered all the way along the brass tube, but maybe it hasn't, and I don't want to be taking any chances, so that's why I'm going so easy here. Now the wood is actually fairly sound, but here's that crack. My thinking now is that if this is going to be the clip end, maybe I'm going to swap these two out and I'll cover this crack with the clip. So I think that's what I'm going to do, and then turn it down the rest of the way. Remember, this is a slim line. It doesn't have to be like a cigar pen. Okay, I've swapped them out, and as you can see, the crack is right there. Also, this was here, and I switched it around. And when I turn a pen, I always have the nib this way. So it's just, I'm used to doing it that way. So what I'll do is I'll taper it down to the bushing here. And this all sort of, I don't know what I'm going to do. I want to try and have them match a little bit, so I got to take this one down a little more. Then I'll taper this down to the clip. And once again, that's the plan. Well, I think I'll do the rest with sandpaper now. But that'll be tomorrow.